to meet you all. My name is Graham Miller. I have a professional background for about the last 12 to 13 years, primarily in revenue operations. So I have been a part of the wave from sales operations to revenue operations to, okay, where does this stop? And now we're kind of in like go-to-market operations world. And now we're entering this new AI-driven go-to-market engineering layer on top of everything. And it's been a really fun ride. For myself here at Gong, I lead our go-to-market AI strategy, enablement, and engineering, which are three massive, distinct scopes and have quite a lot of responsibilities that are very different from one another. From one day laying out the roadmap and the architecture for how our AI systems communicate with one another, avoiding duplicative work, driving value and revenue outcomes, to teaching reps how to use AI, which none of us could have ever foreseen falling within some of our remits, but has been very fun. And then, lastly, which will be a large part of our conversation today, the go-to-market engineering side, where AI workflows, AI agents, AI applications have really come to light with a reduced barrier to entry, effectively to zero, thanks to a lot of these AI-assisted coding platforms like Claude Code and OpenAI's Codex, et cetera. And so it's a wild world. And I'll also just share that I try to approach all of this with humility from my side. So I'm a constant learner. I am learning every day. I absolutely do not know everything about this. I feel like half the time I'm skimming through information and trying to just stay up to speed. But I can say that, at least with confidence, that I do feel like at least an expert practitioner, and that I am truly doing this from the morning until the late evening with a small break, so that I can hang out with my wife and daughters somewhere in between there. This is my first time.
It makes you feel better, Graham. That's what everybody says when they present in this collective. They always says, "I'm not an expert," and then they proceed to show amazing stuff. I think everybody's thinking that other people are doing amazing things, which mostly they are. But I'm sure you hold your ground.
That's good. That means that I'm at least on par with everybody else. So I'm
That's right, exactly.
So Nicholas mentioned that if I show any slides today, he's going to do a LinkedIn post about me. So there won't be any slides.
Awesome.
This will be all live demo. But allow me to kind of set the stage a little bit. So Gong is obviously an AI native company that I work at, which is entirely focused on driving revenue outcomes. So everything that we do and have done for the last decade is entirely focused on impacting in some way, shape, or form things such as pipeline generation, new business acquisition, decreasing rep ramp time, increasing rep productivity, renewal rates, win rates, conversion rates, you name it. Everything is connected to it. And the onset of AI in the last, let's call it 2 to 3 years, has been very interesting to watch, where diving into the experimentation and just getting in there, figuring out what this does with what appeared to be extremely low costs initially, has led to some adoption and some workflow lock-in and challenge with showing clear revenue outcomes. And so one thing that I'll just share that I've been very appreciative of is actually having been working at Gong during this AI transformation era, where that North Star of impact and business impact has truly existed since the day I joined. And I didn't realize really how much I had been saturated by that, because it shapes everything we do. Reps still to this day are really focused on, okay, I can build this, I can do this, but like, can I clearly articulate what it is that it's going to drive for me in my business today? And some stats to share. So we have a Gong Labs, effectively a bunch of data scientists that look on aggregate at anonymous data. And from one of our recent posts, we saw that about 88% of orgs are using AI today. And a recent Gartner post also shared that roughly like 60% of them are not on track to realize outcomes. And so it frames this problem that adoption, while it still remains a challenge, isn't like the core challenge, but it's execution. And so when talking about agents, the whole purpose of what I share with you today is surrounding closing the gap between executing with a clarity on revenue outcomes. And it starts, and this is going to be my enablement hat coming out, but with a real question from a real person. Because when you can do anything, most people tend to do everything, and then they kind of forgot what they were solving for in the first place. And so we try and really peel that back. Gong agents, inside of our platform, I'm gonna show you one that is one that I built that is very straightforward, but it's focused on actually a particular question that was surfaced by one of our revenue leaders. It was she's our enterprise revenue leader, Dana. So framing the problem, Dana had a suspicion that a majority of our close lost SDR generated pipeline is individuals who are not really deeply invested in learning about Gong. And I said, oh, that's really interesting. That's probably the case across most organizations, I would assume. And she wanted to really suss out where that problem lied and whether or not that was truthful or not. And so I said, hey, let's go ahead and dive in and create an agent to see if we can solve this problem. So we're looking right now at sort of the agent creation studio. This should look and feel pretty familiar to like most agent builder studios that you see today. It's a little bit of that dotted background. You see like a very clear workflow top to bottom, and it's going to start with a trigger. So in my case, I chose to use the trigger of a CRM change. I wanted to see when opportunities moved from the stage that they're in to close lost. And then I set some optional filters here that you can see for just making sure that I really have that most appropriate data set that was relative to Dana, my enterprise leader. So this is like this is the filtering down moment, right? This is the scoping your data, getting it the way that you want it, et cetera. There are other trigger filters, such as triggering based off of date, or sort of like a time-based trigger, as well as you're looking at a CRM change trigger. And there's a handful of other triggers that are actually on their way here shortly. Then you get this option, I'll just display it here, to generate with AI, which you can see here in this second box. So very familiar with what you all are probably familiar with. This is your instruction setting. So you're going to still want to keep in mind the sort of 4 core tenets of a strong prompt, right? They have a clear task. They have a clear role, they have context, and if you want a desired format, you provide that desired format. So here, understandably, right, you're a revenue intelligence analyst, you're looking at SDR generated ops, and I want you to categorize them into 2 different categories. Formally evaluating, or curious / wanting to become educated. It's going then and looking across these deals now with this step, and it's assessing. It's going, okay, based on the conversations that we're seeing associated with these deals, how would we categorize these SDR generated opportunities? Are these true invested individuals, or are these really just kind of looking to see what's going on? I give it a little bit of that context. So it's going through Gong calls, it's going through emails, it's going through CRM fields. And then I just gave it some classification to actually understand, what do I mean when I say curious? And what do I mean when I say formally evaluating? And then just make sure that the task is really clear. So I will say what I'm sharing here is over engineered. So Gong by default does not operate like a regular frontier LLM, where you always need to provide the four core tenets of a strong prompt. Gong is pre-instructed in many ways to already understand these elements, but I'm just sharing, transparently here that I tend to over-engineer when I first start working with new product features, just so that I can have a lot of confidence in what I'm seeing. And then I need to delete this one because I just brought this one out. That's fine. I'll refresh it and it'll go away. Then you get to choose you can choose a response. So currently you can have it send to Slack or email to update you with information over time. But coming here shortly, it's also going to be able to have write actions, such as directly writing and updating within a CRM, as well as some others. But for the sake of what I wanted, I chose here that I didn't want any individual recipients, although I could have just chosen that enterprise leader. Oh, sorry, I would have been under team member. So I could have actually just selected it to go to her, but instead, I decided to just create a Slack channel for myself where I could see these responses. And I just called it SCR Vibe because I was being quick. And then you put in the variables that you want to pull back. So fortunately, it's pretty straightforward. You can just pull back the response. But if I wanted to also pull back other things, I could. And that is an agent end to end in its building phase. Scott, not yet. So no Gong CLI quite yet, but here, having shown you the editing phase, I also want to show you sort of the audit phase. So you can see all of the runs that this has had where obviously based off of those opportunities and that information coming through, I can actually then see, hey, this completed appropriately. I can see the summary that it ran correctly, who made it, etc. And this is a very simple view. And I'm going to go ahead and now show some of what that output looks like. And I'll just switch screens real quick. And feel free to, if there are also any questions along the way, feel free to come off mute and ask. So the formatting piece, I will say, I definitely am going to get better at myself. I think there's a little bit of an art here that I haven't perfectly nailed down. But here you can see, Gong sent me that output with what op was analyzed, which camp they fell into, and then it's going to give me the observation, right? Why it was evaluated that way, etc. And Gong agents truly have no limits to the possibility that they'll be able to drive in terms of having all of this data that already exists in platform and being able to query against it and put in autonomous agentic loops, driving sort of an increase in magnitude of what you can deliver. So maybe also just sharing some other examples of, powerful agents that have also been built before I kind of turn pages just briefly to the AI fluency side of this. But another one that I have built recently is one that helps identify on prior to forecast calls moments when there are specific deal stalling languages, text of speech, phrases, etc., that are being shared, which might not actually come up honestly on a forecast call, but that could very well actually impact the likelihood that a deal is going to close. And right now, again, with AI where it's at and individuals trying to understand how much they're spending at their companies, one trend that is very honestly being seen right now is that people are overspending on their AI budgets. And it's beginning to actually appear in certain deal cycles. So, fortunately, we're able to also trigger off of AI trackers. For those of you familiar, you identify a certain phrase, etc. You create a tracker. That tracker flags them, and then in a very similar way, right? You sort of provide that context of what you're looking for, and then it runs, and it will provide that output. If any of you are maybe asking yourself the question, um, okay, like Gong's AI native, Gong also has the same abilities to build and create as well as anybody else. Like, where is that line in the sand? How do you know when to do something in Gong and when to do something outside of Gong? And fortunately, I can tell you all that is my responsibility. And it's one that is constantly evolving. But in the simplest form, I will share it like this. When it comes to revenue generating activities, that is Gong. And that is established in like foundational AI principles with the fact of proprietary built AI and a proprietary data set that makes that the expert that it is for accomplishing these workflows is kind of number one. And number two is that these revenue generating workflows like deal reviews, forecasting, generating pipeline, closing deals, etc., these are not new. These were the tried and true established processes since before the dawn of AI that led to concrete revenue success when done well. Where Gong obviously adds to and expedites that is providing better insights, creating efficiencies, and helping you to do that. But then there's another side of this, which I call knowledge work, right? It is something entirely different where, how does your go-to-market operations team, how does your enablement team, there are going to be things that they do inside the platform, but there's going to be things they do outside the platform. A traditional LMS journey, not something we do inside the platform. And so that was one problem that I had to solve. And I am going to introduce you all to two quick, I guess I did lie, two quick slides to show what the problem was that we were solving, which I'm calling AI fluency. So the problem is at its core that most people mistake AI literacy for AI fluency, meaning because they think they understand how the tool works, they think they understand how AI works. But the reality of the situation is that fluency is much deeper and broader. It's like learning a new language. You are at the local patisserie in Paris, and maybe they don't ask you for a croissant. They ask you if you want a pain au chocolat, and you need to be able to understand and react in real time that, yeah, you know what? I would like a pain au chocolat. This is
Lovely
literacy.
analogy.
Thanks. I cherry picked, to be fair. And so we put it on a scale, 5 levels, going from being a risk because we wanted to be transparent that if you were just full sending AI today, that is a risk. Putting things like customer information, using the highest models, etc., is not the right way to do this. And in order to sell in the environment that we live and breathe today, our field needs to show up as experts. And so we created, or I guess I should say, I created the Brainstorm platform. So this is an application I made using Cloud Code and Codex that ties together my belief of all of the best parts of learning. So gamification, having people compete against each other, something that looks and feels nice, and something that solves on the back end quite a lot for us, the actual reporting that we want. So we built this all out and just kind of showing you an overview. A learner hits the homepage. They have their profile up here, what level they are, and there is a leaderboard of the first individuals who finish each new course as it comes out to sort of flex on your peers, like, hey, I'm more fluent than you are in AI. A little progress. I thought it would be fun to add a little daily challenge, sort of like an AI Wordle, if you would. So there's sort of this recurring reason or need to come back to the platform. Then you sort of dive in, and there's a fully curated AI fluency journey that associates back to those levels that we talked about. And as you progress from AI 101 to 201 to 301, the content changes and updates. So you're going through something very simple, like what is AI? What's the history of AI? There's going to be little activities that are hidden throughout. And then at the very bottom, you'll have a little knowledge test. And the success that I will share that I have found with this has been pretty remarkable. Um, Traditional LMS software at its core did one job very well, but in my opinion and my belief, where AI is taking us is into a frontier in an environment where you can take that core value that's being provided by something and you can expound upon it if you feel very confident and comfortable with what it is you're trying to solve. And that's really what we tried to do here. And if any of you are interested as well, I did create a little overview page that you can all go and sort of read through that just shows like what it is that this course does and what the curriculum looks like in case you would want to replicate something similar in your own organizations. But the most interesting thing that I have seen is on the reporting end, um, the number of participants sort of progressing through this and what that data looks like has been really interesting across the company level. And what I'll share is this: our go to market team has progressed at nearly 4x the speed of progress as the rest of the company, because they are, of course, frontline to customers who want consultative help on their own proper AI strategies. And we invested in this bet that by improving our own company's AI fluency, it will have a material impact on our ability to generate and close revenue in the coming weeks, months, and years. A little bit of the genesis or precursor to this is simply the technology that we're beginning to sell, right? It was API for like the last 12 years, where that's how you sort of connected data across systems. And now with Model Context Protocol, or MCP, connections coming out, like we're taking kids out of college and putting them into sales roles and going, all right, welcome to tech. Here are the big players. We now need you to start understanding infrastructure, platforms, and applications. And also, here's Model Context Protocol, which you've never heard of. And you also have to shape the way a deal looks and position yourself in a positive way and understand why data matters in AI and why all of these things are relevant. And so the longer we looked at that problem, the more we just realized it was not so much an if, but a when we did something like this. And I will say, and I'll kind of end on this point for Q&A, but the ask was made of us to build this on April 29th to be ready and live by May 5th. And it was myself and another individual, and we were incredibly nervous. But I will say the speed at which we were able to kind of deliver this and improve and increment over time has been a real eye opener to me and my teams of how much is possible of us in a short amount of time, and really the risk and opportunity that's there. So